He didn't stay long. Paul says that he enjoyed this time in India. But John and George stayed longer. George continued to defend the Maharishi, but John soon became angry at their old teacher. A song on the band's next album was an angry attack on him. Back in Britain, there were no simple answers in business for the Beatles. They opened the Apple shop in London. Paul called it a beautiful place where you can buy beautiful things. The shop lost money almost immediately. But Apple was more than a shop. It was a big company that produced music and films. The Beatles began to produce other musicians. Paul was most interested in Apple's business. He was there more because he lived in London, but the others felt that Paul was trying to lead the band again. Yellow Submarine. In July 1968, there was another Beatles film in cinemas. The band recorded a few new songs for Yellow Submarine, but they didn't even do the voices in the film. In the story, the band saved a strange place called Pepperland with their music. A new album and a new love. In 1968, Cynthia and John Lennon's marriage ended. John was with Yoko Ono now. He first met the Japanese-American artist at an art show in 1966, and they slowly fell in love. Story behind the song. Paul felt sorry for Cynthia and Julian Lennon. The boy was only 5. Paul wrote a song for him. He later changed the words from Hey Jules to Hey Jude. Everything changed for John with Yoko. He often spoke of her as his teacher. Together they explored new ideas. These were called crazy by many people, but John and Yoko weren't worried. They made their first record together in one night. It was an exploration of sounds. But the biggest news was the cover. It showed John and Yoko without any clothes. We just wanted to be together all the time, remembered John. John and Yoko were together in the studio too, as the Beatles started their next album. This soon became a problem for the other Beatles. Ringo asked him, "What's this all about?" The other two and George Martin were angrier. When Yoko was ill, John even brought a bed into the studio for her. In 1968, the Beatles' White Album had other problems. Ringo left the band for a time. The band recorded a few songs without him. In his opinion, the other Beatles didn't need him. When they all asked him back, the drummer returned happily. "I loved the White Album," he remembers now. But not everyone had this opinion. John spoke about the start of the band's slow death at this time. The musical interests in the band were more and more different. The Beatles were less and less a real group. Sometimes the album was recorded in 3 different studios at the same time, as John, Paul and George worked on their own songs. The double album mixed many different kinds of music. Obla Dee, Obla Da was a happy pop song, while Revolution 9 was a strange piece of sound art. In Back in the USSR, the band cleverly sounded like the Beach Boys. George's best song on the album was probably While My Guitar Gently Weeps. His friend Eric Clapton joined the band to play on this song.